right. Thanks, man. Three stars. Quite loud. Kind of smelly.
James, what took you so long? Seriously, we got the GTRs, you're ready to go to the canyons.
I
It took forever to get here.
I got unlucky. It's Uber. It's a bit of a lottery, isn't it?
Okay.
Wait a second. Forgot my sunglasses. Sorry. James, and this is the 2024 Nissan GTR.
But why would you buy one when you can buy one of these, which is the exact same car, albeit a little bit slower, for a lot less money?
The R35 generation Nissan GTR. It first hit North American roads in 2008, and nothing has quite been the same since. It made supercar owners sweat bullets. A Nissan that can hit 60 miles an hour quicker than a V12 Lambo, and for well under $100,000. What? It was an all-wheel drive Godzilla that did challenge the status quo, and one that can now be had used for kind of what it cost new 15 years ago, actually, yeah. But even today, the performance numbers of this 2009 hold up. Speaking of up, new GTRs have since crossed a sacred line, the $100,000 line, and this one, outfitted with gilded shoes and some other fancy bits, crosses that line confidently. So, is it worth buying it new? And does the old one feel old now? Let's find out. And if you're new to Throttle House, we do car reviews, track tests, and quite a lot of messing about. So subscribe, hit the bell.
James?
Yes.
Is this the first time that we've done an old versus new episode where the cars are from the same generation?
Yes, very much so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also, I think we've done old versus new episodes where the cars are closer in year and from different generations.
Yes. Okay. This is the 16th model year of this generation.
Yeah.
You could have had this as your dream car in middle school. And now you could be a father of two with a job for many years.
You'd be 30.
And buy this brand new. So dreams can come true.
See that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, have a go in that. But before you do, as you saw at the beginning, Pelote did sponsor this video. We've been wearing these nonstop. We'll have a discount code for you at the end, but until then, have fun. Use your Pelotes. I heard the legend says they give you 5 more horsepower.
For each foot?
Yeah.
Extra 5 horsepower because I already have 565. That's a big jump from the 2009. And yes, the GTR modding community are laughing at me right now saying, James, I think you'll find that's 3 digits instead of 4. I know these are a modder's paradise, but right now, on this road, this thing feels properly quick. And horsepower isn't the only thing the 2024 has. In addition to its slightly revised face, 2024 celebrates the return of the T-Spec trim, which this is. It commands a pretty hefty price jump considering that it has the same power number as the base GTR has had for years, but for your extra 20,000 American smackaroos and almost $50,000 in Canada, it inherits a bunch of Nismo goodies, like carbon ceramic brakes, as well as wider front fenders, Nismo dynamic vehicle control, and gold versions of the Nismo's forged wheels. It also gets a bunch of other fancy tidbits inside and out, which we'll talk about in a minute. Also, it sounds good. And a GTR R35 has always sounded good. It's always been a wave of induction sound and theatre. But now, this has an exciting exhaust. On the upshift, barks. But then on the downshift, it kind of spreads out that bark and it becomes like an old man belly laugh. It's like, that's kind of fun, I like it. That means that there's now theatre in front of me and behind me, which is exactly what I want in a sports car. And because this is all-wheel drive, there's also power in front of me and behind me. The confidence that comes with accelerating in a GTR is right up there. There's also little lights on the gauge cluster that flash as I approach the red line. It's very obvious when you drive a GTR that Nissan prioritized everything to do with power and performance and enjoyment. So yeah, it's a bit compromised. It's a brute. The tires are translating a lot of noise to the cabin. The transmission still makes strange sounds that suggest it's broken, but it's not. And actually, over time, it's had updates. This is a much smoother transmission than I remember in the older GTRs. It doesn't clunk you around town, but as far as I remember, when you're actually hauling arse, it's always been pretty quick on the shifts, and this is no less true in the 2024. Also, the ride is normally a point of criticism for the R35 GTR, but that's also had updates over the years. This, in its harshest mode right now, is not bone-breaking. On this same road with a McLaren Artura in race mode, it destroyed you. It was untenable. This is fine. It's just doing a great job of communicating to me what's under my feet. Where that communication breaks down is the steering, because whilst it feels sharp and accurate, it just feels over boosted. It doesn't weigh up much, even in the corners. It's gone too Grand Toury, and this is a GTR. It's a Grand Tourer racer. So the steering in that part has kind of lost a bit of the racing vibe. I don't have that same level of confidence in the corners. Everything else about the R35 GTR has improved a lot, which is good. Because since it came out, a lot of sports cars have come out. And for the price this is asking, it's not the only thing out there. Like the BMW M8, or the new Corvette Z06, or a 911, an AMG GT, a GT500, F-Type Rs, an Aston Martin. The list goes on. And don't even get me started on the Nismo, which in Canada is the same price as a f***ing Ferrari, excuse my French. But more importantly, does this 2024 T-Spec feel twice the price of a 2009 GTR? Either way, there's no question, this thing has gotten outrageously expensive.
But if you zoom out, GTRs as a whole are kinda nutty in price. These are R32s, for example. That one's a Nismo. They're about 150 grand. R34s routinely go north of 200 grand. But if you go back even further in time, you get to this, which, depending on who you ask, is either the coolest Uber ever, or the GTR that started it all, the Hakosuka. And these almost hit $500,000. This, at $60-ish thousand, a steal, because you're getting quite a lot of performance. But these R35 GTRs have changed quite a bit over the years.
When the R35 GTR first came out, it was immediately different to every other Nissan. We've all heard the stories about how the 3.8-liter twin-turbo V6 engines were built in a hermetically sealed lab, and how a zillion computer calculations every second kept it glued to the road. But even though those things remain true over every model year, Nissan was constantly tweaking and changing the R35. Earlier models had a clunkier transmission, a more unreliable launch control, a cheaper interior, and harsher suspension. And compared to the new one James is in, and compared to the numbers we see in many modern cars, this first year, 2009, only made 480 horsepower.
But that doesn't feel slow at all. I've always liked that engine. I've just always liked it. I like the sound of it. I like the way it feels like it's blowing up as it gets near the red line. Oh, it moves. That really moves. Still, after all these years, it still impresses you. We've driven some very quick cars. I've driven some very quick cars. And every time I get back into GTR, old, new, whatever, and you pull away in first gear, you almost forget to shift if you're shifting manually, because first gear runs out so quickly and it just puts the power down. Oh, these are actually fun cars to drive, and I had a weird relationship with the GTR over the years. I've gone through, because it's been around for so friggin' long, I have gone through all the stages of liking it, disliking it, not caring about it, being reminded that it exists and it's still in production. And I find that these days, every time I get in an R35 GTR, I tend to enjoy it a little bit more. But you know what, just driving it right now, even by modern standards, this is not a slow car, and it is an absolute weapon in the corners. But it does corners its own way. It goes about the business of generating grip and blasting you out of the corner in a very unique GTR-like fashion that nothing else seems to feel like. When I can accelerate blindly out of a corner in one of these and say, that's a GTR. Just by the way, it shifts the power front to rear. You just plant your foot and you feel the car sorting everything out for you. I didn't used to like that very much, but I'm enjoying it now because I'm enjoying what feels like quite a mechanical, weirdly analog connection to this car. I'm enjoying that I can tell what it's doing. Modern cars these days end up being mysteries. You don't know what it's doing. It sorts so many things out for you and you go, wow, I'm a great driver. This one is doing everything for me, but at the very least, I can tell what it's doing and when. And compared to most modern cars, and weirdly compared to the GTR that we drove a few years ago, the steering in this is pretty good. It weights up very naturally and I'm getting feedback. I like it. And other than the fact that it constantly sounds like it's braking because the transmission is performance first, comfort second, this is a weirdly comfortable car to live with. It's decently insulated on the highway, good driving position, good sound system. And then you come onto a road like this, and it can generate so much performance and G-force and speed that it'll turn your brain to shit.
Before we met up to talk about the styling, James and I had a little go in each other's cars, and we both found one thing was quite different.
As Morpheus said,
Yeah.
some things never change, and some things do.
You talking about the steering?
Yeah, the steering's one of the things for sure.
Yeah, like otherwise, for the most part, they feel the same. It's a bit quicker and whatever, the ride's a little bit more compliant. But like,
Yeah.
the steering is so numb. Actually, people gave us a really hard time when we complained about the steering in the new version of this a couple years ago. And I like to the point that I thought it was a fluke.
Yeah, a lot of the updates to this are quality of life updates.
Yeah.
But that means that this remains to be a more engaging car.
This is a significantly more engaging car on the front end, especially.
Yeah. Well, the owner of this has made a few quality of life updates.
You see my big iPad in it? It's pretty good, right?
I saw the, well, hold on, it's not pretty good because it's an iPad. It's because it's got the stuff. You normally don't like getting an iPad shoved on a thing.
No, but it's not shoved. It's beautifully integrated.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Either way, it's an admission that the GTR needs some updates in some ways.
And here's one that has also been done.
Yes.
You see how easy it is? Bibbidi, bobbidi, boop, and it's a new GTR.
But
what do you got? What do you got?
It doesn't come in the T-Spec exclusive Millennium Jade paint.
It is fantastic, isn't it?
It's wonderful.
From all angles.
No orange peel, absolutely dazzles in the sun, and that's one of two colors for the T-Spec.
There's also PPF too. That's what I would do with a paint like that.
Yeah, the owner's fully expelled this because that's what you want to do. You want to protect the special editions.
Yeah.
It comes with midnight purple as well.
Ooh, I like the midnight purple.
Yeah.
That's a really fun one, honestly. No, but this looks really, really, really good. Honestly.
Gold wheels, carbon fiber spoiler, gold on the engine.
Yes.
This one's signed by Mr. GTR himself.
That is very, very cool, and the wheels look great. And this has bigger brakes than that, and they're carbon ceramics, and they're yellow. Oh, actually, hold on, mine are gold. What's up?
The wheels are gold on this, though.
Okay, fair enough.
And this has been quite controversial. People haven't liked... The only thing I feel like they ever changed with the GTR is the front slightly. And every time that happens, the GTR, people are like, wait a minute. I just need a minute. This now looks like an update of an R34, more than the R35 ever has.
Yeah,
it really works in person.
I think that the GTR has always been, and remains to be, and will always be, an awesome looking car. It isn't beautiful.
No, it's muscular.
Yes.
Muscular.
Yeah. And when you see one going on the road, I still get excited. I'm just like, that's a GTR, it's cool.
But what is beautiful now is...
Like philosophically?
No.
Like inner beauty.
Like what is beautiful?
Yeah.
I don't know anymore. But I do know that the updates to this on the inside are a big step up on this. Big.
Okay, well, hop in this and have a good look at what 60 grand gets you.
This is clean.
It is clean.
This is very clean.
It is. I mean, listen, it's a bit aged in a few areas.
Yeah, it's simple.
Steering wheel's a bit shiny, even though there's not that many kilometers on this car, miles. And you know, there's some little bit of the hard plastics, a little bit scrapey over there. Yeah. But otherwise, some of the materials are nice. Like there's some soft touches.
The leather in the door is surprisingly cushy.
Very cushy.
It's got a lot of give.
Yeah, isn't it nice?
Yeah.
Seats are comfy. Headliner isn't too fancy. And I believe that the headliner in the new one is pretty fancy.
It's fancy.
It's fancy. But, and I don't want to dwell on this too much because we already talked about it, and this isn't representative of what you'd get if you bought one for 60 or 70 grand. This massively modernizes the interior.
Yeah, they've changed it. What did we say when we do resto mods? That we just need CarPlay,
and
safety.
And safety.
No, no safety.
You know,
and some safety.
Yeah, a little bit of safety.
So this is a resto mod.
This becomes a resto mod because this is better than most OEMs. Right, way better than the new Nissan.
So instead, what do you get here? This is where all the
originally you'd have the aircon stuff, and then up here would be a separate screen that has all the GTR related things, right? But now all the climate's integrated here.
It's not that different. The gauge cluster is still analog in the new one.
It is. It's exactly the same, except for the fact that this little bit right down here is orange in the early ones, and it's blue in the later ones.
Right.
Wow.
Because modern.
Yep, they modernized it. Must have been so proud of themselves after that. Okay, I think that this, for the money, it doesn't feel like you're not getting something special. That was a double negative, I think, and we didn't need that. This feels like you're getting something special for the money.
Well, we talked about it, didn't we? It's like sort of M2 pricing, new M2.
It is M2 pricing, yeah. Shall we go look at the new one, which costs how much? How much does this remind me?
Depends if you include dealer markup.
Right, well, if you don't, how much is
$140.
$140,000.
It's the T-Spec's got special stuff.
Well, let's see how special it is. Yeah, it is pretty special, I will say.
We've got the stitching on the roof here.
Yeah,
this whole thing is lathered in Maury green leather.
I love the green, actually.
We've got green on the bottom of the steering wheel, top of the steering wheel, the seats are green. We've got the green leather in the doors.
Yeah, and there's like a green and the gold accent stitch is just... It's stunning, and this is obviously the new generation steering wheel, which, as we found, goes along with the new generation steering, unfortunately. But the steering wheel is great.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, and we got Alcantara everywhere.
Yep. No, it's really, it feels like very supercar in here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it reminds me of the R8. This sort of stuff, like especially that R8 Decennium, if you think of it as a special edition.
Yeah, it's got that vibe.
This is a bit cheaper than that.
That's true. That is a V10 though.
But it's a fighter, if it's a GTR
Yes.
fighter. All these kind of like all-wheel drive accelerator.
Yeah, see the thing is that the old GTR, it feels much more like an economy car with a lot of power that's meant to take down the giants.
Yes.
It has that vibe. This has, I am a giant, look how fancy I am. I'm very fast.
It's not a technical marvel.
No, well, I mean, the drivetrain is.
But look at that.
Yeah.
The reverse camera's terrible.
It's really bad.
Yeah, it's a 2024 vehicle.
It doesn't-
I don't need the digital dash. This is a cool dash.
It's a great dash, nothing wrong with that, but just this, like, the fact that that one has a more modern system because it's been done aftermarket, like, you feel silly being in the modern one and going, oh, right.
Yeah.
This is what we came from to get, okay.
Yeah.
No, this is an interesting video, actually. Very, because, like, I can see this purchase from the perspective of, I bought something that's like a special edition. You know, you might argue that it maybe will hold its value differently than a non-special
the
edition one,
T-Specs, yeah.
right? It's a bit more rare. It's really cool. It is brand new, got the warranty, the whole thing. And since they made that one, there's been lots and lots of upgrades to durability and
It's all quality of life and just improvements.
yeah, well, and drivetrain too. Like those used to shear transmission cogs, right? These don't do that anymore.
And there's the Nismo trim, which is even more expensive and faster and
Yes,
crazier.
yes.
But I think this is the more livable spec. When we drove that Nismo, and the new Nismo has been updated even further, but
Yeah.
the previous Nismo we drove,
It beats you up.
it beats you up.
It really does. Yeah.
This is much more of a
100% it is.
I don't know, I
Yeah.
think 10, 15, 20 years from now when you get in this, you're going to enjoy the fact that they made it a nicer place to be.
I think you're right. I totally understand purchasing a new one of these, especially if you got a really unique spec like this. But I think what I would do is I would do exactly that. I'd buy an old one.
Just buy an old one.
And I'd put the new infotainment thingy in it.
Yeah, there isn't much you have to change.
No. That would be my choice. What about you?
Assuming I have to pretend all other sports cars don't exist and pick a GTR from this generation, I'd do the newest GTR that has the good steering, whichever year that is. And hopefully that means it lasts longer and has the suspension tweaks, but also has maximum driver engagement. But considering the 16-year age gap, it's quite shocking how not different the new GTR is.
Usually, at this point, we'd be waxing lyrical while trying to decide if the new one still has the soul of the old one despite its significant updates, etc., etc. But these are almost the exact same car, which probably explains why the old one has kept its value so well. The GTR experience isn't for everyone, but for those who want to own this, that is, a physical manifestation of Japanese performance engineering, well, at least you've got a large pool to choose from.
And thank you to Pelote for supporting this video. As Thomas mentioned earlier, we have a discount code for you for a special holiday promotion. If you go to pelote.com and use code THROTTLE20, you'll get 20% off of your purchases for the next week. And that's site-wide, so it includes the shoes that Thomas and I have been constantly wearing. I've been rocking the shifts in chalk, and Thomas has been wearing the drifts in cognac. So, code THROTTLE20 for 20% off. Got it? Good. Now shoe.
James, we're not ending the GTR video on a shoe pun.
Yeah, no, you're right. I just thought it'd be fun. We haven't got to keep that in the edit.